Title: Atlantic Secrets, Humans, Our Homunculus Colony. Dear citizens of the world, I am a voice from the cult, and I come from the island you know as the island of Friesland/Frisia or Tholen. It is an island shrouded in mystery for you. Everything about this, your mythological territory, is a fairy tale to you. It's all not true, or it doesn't exist. None of it has happened, and all the so-called evidence is a forgery. Now, this description of my surroundings is already material for fairy tales and mythology for you, so let me tell you a very interesting fairy tale. A fairy tale told by someone who actually lives on this mysterious island. And, just like a real fairy tale, this story begins a very long time ago in a very different era of our world. The remnants of this era are the massive temple complexes and pyramids that your humanity finds all over the world. Your scientists want to date these buildings to 2000 BC, but you can easily add another zero to that. The era I'm talking about is perhaps 20,000 years ago. For you. For us, the residents of Friesland and Thule, that era is still ongoing. Ongoing. Okay, admittedly, it's no longer the golden age it was at the beginning of our existence. But in the four great Yuga ages, we have always been able to thrive worldwide. And in the first two Yugas, this was accompanied by great peace, harmony, and superior technological development. Believe me, there is truly nothing new under the sun. And, in reality, there is nothing more under that so-called sun of yours in your world. What your scientists won't tell you is that most of you haven't really paid attention. And still don't see it. Your world is a completely depleted, stripped, deforested, and consumed world. The world has been completely stripped of everything it once contained. There are no real resources left in large quantities. However, there are for you. But you're also running up against the limits of the possibilities to further destroy this planet. How can you explain that, why it happens, and what is happening? We live entirely within the creation of God. As an Atlantean people, we played with God in our existence. We interfered with creation. What you know as the fallen angels, the Anunnaki. The sons of God who came down from heaven and mingled with earthly women, and so on. You can interpret it as you wish. It is indeed all described in some symbolic way. We were punished by God for this. We are imprisoned within the earth. It can indeed be read in religious works. We are the fallen angels mentioned here and held here. We await the final judgment. There are some scientists who are correct regarding the appearance of the earth. As you can see, it's a closed construction. Despite you perceiving it as a vast surface, on a cosmic scale, it's a remarkably small space. And it's precisely this tiny size that we, humanity, also make you believe is the little ball on which you live, in this vast space. Indeed, you feel incredibly insignificant and small with it. Knowing that the universe and, therefore, the possibilities and the horizon are infinite. However, this is not the case for us here on Earth. We are trapped here, but you, humanity, are our prisoners. You are our homunculus. You are our little beings or little people. You are our artificial creation. As you know, consciousness is one, but as you also know, your consciousness is constantly evolving. You know plenty of old people with a lot of experience or knowledge who are much more developed than you. You know enough old civilizations whose knowledge and truths have been preserved through the ages. That is important knowledge, you would think. And it is, of course. Because knowledge is power. And knowledge is what the wealthiest and most prominent intellectuals in all times have strived for. Not to gain power with it, but to attain the true, wondrous power that this knowledge truly gives you. Knowledge that has been hidden by our magicians since the beginning of your times and has been conveyed and implemented by our many agents throughout the ages. Not that they come off my island or are members of my people. They are, in essence, the most rotten apples from your society who serve us in this way. Your society serves us. Your world is a reservation. It is a human farm. You are cattle. You are our herds, and we are your hidden shepherds. We manage the herds, mainly interdimensionally. Think of the most advanced virtual reality world you've ever seen in today's games. You live in 2023 and will therefore see rapid development of increasingly better images. You have only had technology for 150 years, but if you think you can develop for another 150 years this way, I must remind you that you are a human farm. And, of course, we don't want our slaves to become too smart. So the population is periodically culled, and then the world is repopulated by us. We've been doing this since we were imprisoned here. Every 150 to 200 years, we let an entire human generation grow up to subject them to an end-time scenario. We do this to assess what awaits us when we receive the final judgment. The human is indeed a child of God. The human is a free and innocent element, a consciousness that creates everything. A light being that projects its inner beliefs and worldview into its surroundings as a tangible environment. The human is a true magician. Besides being hypnotized throughout their lives, they can provide you with everything your heart desires. We can also subject the collective to various traumas and fears, turning humanity's greatest nightmares into reality, to estimate and become accustomed to the punishment we will receive for eternity in a twisted way. It is also the only way for us to remain hidden and in the forefront. The Vanguard, as it is called in English. And what you know as the world's richest company. Just like BlackRock, the world's second richest company. And that Black Mountain is precisely one of those extraordinary places that you think is a fairy tale. Tale. Now, it's certainly magical what is possible at that place and what happens. And we, as hidden hands, are diligently looking into how this place works. These are, in fact, the prison doors of this prison. A place that is off limits to you, the citizens, and where you may not go, of course, on our orders. A place we have made you believe, as in some icy polar sea, one of the two poles because, indeed, we have told you so much. There are certainly enough awake people who have all of this figured out in the right context. But you all know how vast the stage truly is compared to what we can produce. Furthermore, you are our citizens. You are our project and have no idea how this human farm came into existence and how it is managed. These are both three-dimensional actions or processes in your world. But your world is entirely broadcast as a frequency from our hidden dimension. Your Earth's magnetic field is a force field caused by our technology. Again, you've had 150 years of technology, and we've had over 20,000 years of technological development, putting us ahead of you. I hope you can grasp what this means. This means that everything you see around you is an illusion created by our manipulation. It's a force field capable of capturing and holding the essence of consciousness, which we all are. Just as your world is a world full of prey and predators in all scales of reality. It's one big interdimensional jungle. It's eat or be eaten, even for consciousness. But consciousness is immortal. It has countless expressions but only one source. It cannot be captured or held. It's always free to go wherever it pleases. However, there are laws in the universe in this creation of God. We, from the island of Thule, Friesland, or Atlantis, have violated these laws of God long ago, long before the existence of your humanity. That's why He imprisoned us within the earth. The earth has become a prison for consciousness, but it hasn't always been this way. The earth was a beautiful place full of abundance and flourishing nature, of a size you truly cannot imagine. The so-called canopy world was one in which flora and fauna literally reached into the sky. Trees, for you, were dozens of kilometers high. It all perished due to the exploitation and destruction of the earth through the various yugas as more evil or entropy entered the system. Just as it's not possible for you to create a perpetual motion machine in the world because entropy always sets in, bringing the process to a standstill, the artificial creation of your world is also subject to this entropy. It's the will and law of God, so to speak. In recent centuries, we've carried out many resets under our control and with our technology. You know them as the many great wars in history or the great epidemics in the distant past, the mysterious disappearance of entire civilizations, or the legends of massive floods. The Phoenix events are found in all our logos and weapons from various centuries. That was then, but this is now. So what is happening now? SOS, save our souls. If you study the history of the homunculus and understand it in the right context, you will discover that it is not allowed for us, humans, or consciousness, to artificially produce consciousness. By this, I don't mean AI. I mean literally replicating the divine essence that you, I, and all of us are, to create a divine soul. This is what we did during the Atlantean period. We created Adam from the dust of the earth itself. We didn't give him a soul because that was not allowed. However, we did give him a bit of our own cognitive intelligence in the form of biological configuration. He was merely the first of many that we created. They were our tools, our laborers, biological artificial intelligence with a short lifespan and low awareness, built purely to perform the heavy work they were instructed to do. This is why mostly men were found in your ancient history, and a woman seemed to appear suddenly after many centuries of only men. A missing link in your history, but women emerged because we evolved with the project we were working on. After we had mined everything with the laborers, whom you will find in legends as titans and similar beings or giants and other mythological creatures, and the entire labor force, titans and gods to you, ultimately died out, generations of descendants became progressively smaller. Through many cycles of civilizations, we have continuously squeezed your humanity from the shadows and economically enslaved it. Each time, we reduced the scale of humanity as a whole to maximize the use of the remaining resources in our exploitation of the system. However, this has been restarted so many times, especially in the Kali Yuga, which we are currently in. We've had to scale down humanity so many times that, compared to the surface you are on the so-called Planck scale. You are mega minuscule. To put it in perspective, everything is vast and flat. If your concept of space were to truly exist and begin at an altitude of 100 kilometers, the relief of the entire surface of the Earth, including the highest mountains like Mount Everest, compared to the roof of space, is flattened and smoothed as a whole. Everything you think you see in space is then millions of light years away. What you believe you see is an image that we fully control because you are our human farm. The awakened among you have uncovered and revealed most truths about our cult. But the real big secret, the reason why all of you free people live so close to the North Pole compared to the enormously vast world that ours is in all directions, is because you are free to go wherever you want. For you, the prison door is open and accessible. The North Pole, or the so-called monopole, the particle we have made you believe doesn't exist, has been turned into a black hole, which, until recently, didn't even exist. But this monopole is the element in the universe that we use to create your world. The entire universe is a cosmic network of monopoles formed in the early universe. These elements bring about the entire physical creation, including consciousness. Consciousness has many expressions and traverses this vast network through wormholes. It creates its many wondrous realities according to its own will. Consciousness is immortal. But just as there are sick minds in your world that need to be locked up for life, there are elements of consciousness that need to be locked up in such a monopole construct for their entire existence. A monopole can be effectively isolated from the network, thus trapping it in time for eternity. The monopole within which we reside is at the absolute end of its existence. It is literally at the end of its lifespan. God will put an end to this situation. The final judgment we've been waiting for is indeed approaching. We will, along with our creation, that is, you, humanity, perish. However, there is an escape for you. There's one thing I haven't told you completely. You see tens of thousands of people around you. You may be aware of millions of people in your world. But there aren't actually that many people. Most of the people you see in your world are artificial intelligence objects. They are not real. They are NPCs. They are simply unaware of what's happening in their lives or in the world. However, we don't need to maintain or control millions of NPCs. We exist in another dimension, as I mentioned earlier. In your case, we only deal with you. And everyone can consider it that way for themselves. Perhaps you think that in the other dimension where we exist, there are 144,000 people managing your world, and that's correct. But there is only one consciousness, and that's your consciousness. We work with many elements of consciousness simultaneously to bring about this creation, primarily based on technology that surpasses your imagination. Let's say it's mostly automated, to serve us. God has decided to give innocent ego consciousness a chance to purify itself, prove itself, and choose freedom. To choose God. He has been providing guidance since the beginning of your existence. Those who truly find Him already feel liberated on the path to freedom. So, don't worry, you will be liberated. But until then,